Shooters and reloaders out there, Fortune Cookie 45LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone. And I found out something this last holiday season that is very interesting. If you have a bullet caster, friend or relative that you want to make happy, you can't do anything better than give him or her a brand new set of bullet molds in a bullet that he or she doesn't have, but in a caliber that they really like. So when Thorzak 777 gave me this set of RCBS bullet molds for a silhouette bullet design for the 44 cal, first time I've ever gotten a set of bullet molds for a gift. And it's a spectacular gift. It's just joyful. Anyway, what do you do to get this mold now ready to use? Because this is a precious thing, especially when it's a gift. So the first thing, well, it's always a good idea to read the instruction sheet that comes with a product like these bullet molds, and RCBS is no different. They give a nice little blurb there on how to get the handles mounted. Turns out that you got a little Allen screw down here that you take out, and then these plugs will fall out, or they might be the whole thing is an Allen screw. And so in this case, we got these little Allen plugs that actually hold these little retention rods into the mold blocks, and these rods go through the handles, as you see there, the little. Now when it comes to getting mold block handles, we always like to try and get the Lee mold handles to work, because these are only 1/3 the cost of Lyman and RCBS and Seiko mold block handles. And it turns out that we can actually use the Lee 6-cavity mold block handles on almost all Lyman 2-cavity blocks, or even their single-cavity blocks. The slot here fits perfectly for the Lee handle. We really appreciate that. And that happens with some other mold manufacturers also. But it doesn't work for RCBS because the slot here in the mold blocks is too narrow to allow the Lee 6-cavity handles to be installed. So let's look at these RCBS mold blocks, and what they say in the instructions is to take out the mold handle retention screw. Happens to be an Allen screw. So you take an Allen wrench and you take this little screw and pin out, and it turns out that it's a real long pin that's threaded for a lot of it here, and this is what holds the mold blocks on the handles. So let's go ahead and look at those pins. Now it just so happens that RCBS on the older 2-cavity blocks have these pins that have this real long threaded Allen screw that goes into the mold block. And currently what RCBS is doing is, instead of doing that, they use a smaller Allen screw and then a separate retention pin. So that's the way it is now, and that's the way it used to be. This is probably less expensive, but it works as well as that. Well, we'll find out, and apparently it will work very nicely. So let's install the mold handles. Here's one of my other molds, the RCBS, and it comes off the handles, and now we'll put the new one on, as you see. And we'll put the pins in and the screws, and this will be ready to go. We'll do that off camera. So the proper Allen wrench was used to put those plugs back in, and now we're installed on the handles. And the best way to do it is to put the sprue cutter on that direction so you can hit it away from you. And there it is. The mold is properly mounted and ready to use. The mold that I just took off gives me a good chance to coat it with light oil and get that nicely prepped. And as you see there, this is an old mold for my 4570. It's a 300 grain 4570 bullet, and there's no rust on this thing. That's because you take care of it. And now I got a chance to take care of it again. And so we'll put it away in this same box. like so. And we're good to store that until I use that again. But before we can use this mold, we have to degrease it. And that's very important. With RCBS, they say that they use a rust preventative shipping grease that if you don't remove it all and you start casting, that the casting will cause the preservative oil to leave a residue that will interfere with casting. So as you know, that I used to take my mold and scrub it with detergent under water, scrub it real well, and then start casting. And that works real well with aluminum molds. And then other times you've seen me use brake cleaner or engine degreaser, spray that on a mold, and then let it soak a little bit and then wash it off with water and then start casting. But because of this thing with the RCBS preservative oil, let's not take any chances. We're going to go ahead and open this mold up like this. And open it up like this. And then soak it in mineral spirits. So that the blocks are completely submerged in mineral spirits. And we'll just soak it in there for like a day. I don't know if you can hear, but that sound is rain. Can you hear the rain? And we just heard some thunder out there, so what that means is we apply the fortune cookie policy, and that is when playing golf or shooting, no waving lightning rods around in a thunder lightning storm. So I'm not doing any casting anyway, so soaking this thing for a day is a good idea. Get rid of all that preservative oil, for sure. Now the beauty of this is that the mineral spirits, once I've used it up, doesn't have to be discarded. We can use that to make Eds Red, just the way it is, even though it has some use with removing the preservative oil. That won't hurt the Eds Red at all. So I'll go ahead and mix up some Eds Red with this quantity of the mineral spirits that I use and add it to my Eds Red reserve. So shooters and reloaders, there we go, and see you in the next video, hopefully to do the casting if the weather permits.